colleagues and East Africa TV to attend this my briefing. Just my briefing point for today are, I just want to raise three important points. The first one is the latest development of Tigray region. The second one is basic fact about the Nile and Grand Ethiopia Renaissance Dam. And the third one is the sixth general election of Ethiopia. To begin with the recent development of Tigray region, I just want to raise here 3 points. The first point is the genesis of crisis, of how this crisis happened, and some concern raised by international community and the effort made by Ethiopian government, and the challenge we have faced right now. For your background, ground information, just let me raise some points. Since the new Prime Minister came into the power, massive policy reforms undertaken for the last 3 years. Majority of Ethiopians and international community recognize this policy reform introduced by new government. But the TPLF, the Tigray People Liberation Front, that is the dominant party for the last 27 years, resists and reject the policy reform introduced by the new prime government in order to maintain status quo and regain power. This TPLF also involved in planning and organizing and implementing conflicts, violence in the different parts of Ethiopia. They conducted illegal regional election without approving federal parliament as well as the federal government. Finally, they attacked our national defense force located in the northern part of Ethiopia and looted military equipment, killed military officers and innocent civilians. This is the root cause or immediate cause for the rise in Tigray region. I think this is a basic fact how the genesis of the crisis evolved. Now, just the law enforcement measures already conclude successfully within 1 month. Here, I just want to raise some concern, just raised by international community, as well as also the effort made by the government of Ethiopia. Let me begin with currently the government is working and mobilizing resources for recovery and rehabilitation damaged and destroyed infrastructures in order to facilitate the delivery of humanitarian assistance. This junta group, TPLF groups, already destroyed or damaged infrastructures such as road, bridge, airport, and some social infrastructures, social service also. So the government are forced to allocate huge resources to rehabilitate and maintain, reconstruct these damaged infrastructures. The second point is providing humanitarian assistance for affected area or affected people. The government established emergency coordination centers as the Tigray region to boost safe, effective, and efficient delivery of human assistance. Accordingly, food and non-food items were delivered for 4.5 million at first round and 5.2 million for second round. The number of beneficiaries are increased due to lack of banking service. The bank service were interrupted by these groups, and there was also a market failure. The market also disrupted by these groups. So the government tried to address all the humanitarian assistance. Thus, Ethiopian government so far covered 70% of the assistance from its resources, while the remaining 30% covered by development partners. This shows that Ethiopia government working closely with partners and create a conducive environment for humanitarian assistance. The provision of humanitarian assistance is continued. However, there is some accusations that raised by particularly Western community. The claim of hunger as a weapon of war are baseless and politically motivated because the provision of humanitarian assistance is continued. The government is working tirelessly to address those humanitarian assistance. The other issue is here I just want to raise is just human rights issues. Human rights violation is the concern of Ethiopian government as well as the international communities. Here also it's important to point out some effort made by Ethiopian government. The first point is here I just want to raise the Attorney General and Ethiopian Human Rights Commission are undertaking the necessary investigation work to create measures and address the issues. One of the efforts is the Attorney General and Human Rights Commission already have begun investigation work in order to address the human rights abuses that committed in the region. Accordingly, Attorney General announced at recent time a result of internal investigation within the Ethiopian National Defense Force, charging those who have committed abuse against crime civilian peoples. It's also one of the measures taken by the Ethiopian government regarding the human rights violations. The other point here, the point is joint investigation already undertaken by UN Human Rights Commission together with Human Rights Commission of Ethiopia. This is also the other measures taken by Ethiopian government. Here, the government is very committed to bring those who are participated in the human rights abuses to justice based on finding. They are working together with UN and Ethiopian Human Rights Commission, just based on the finding. The Ethiopian government is very ready to bring them, those participants or crime groups into justice. The other issue I just want to raise here is the issue of access issues. The government has also facilitated access to national and international media. So here the access of media is addressed by Ethiopian government. They are so the government has also facilitated access to national and international media to move freely without any restriction in the region. It's also other measures. Now the situation of the security in the region has improved, so that most parts of the region are now accessible for the delivery of food and non-food items, very accessible. So the accessible issue already addressed by the Ethiopian government. The last point I just want to raise regarding this is regarding the national dialogue and reconciliations. The government of Ethiopia has been working to conduct national dialogue and reconciliations after the general elections. All these the issues the government tried to address. Generally, the government has made significant efforts to address access to humanitarian issues, access to media, the issue of human rights violations, the issue of national dialogue and reconciliation. This issue is already raised by the international community. But Ethiopian government tried to work tirelessly to address those issues. Here, the challenge we have faced are some international community and the media outlets engage continuously, propagate very negative report and unbalanced, overrated view of the situations. Others are engaged in disseminating unverified and politically motivated misinformation aimed at undermining the government efforts. This election was made at last June 21, 2021. The election was made following the reforms in Ethiopia that opened political and democratic space, which contributed to greater freedom and proliferation of political parties and civic organizations, strengthening of the National Electoral Board of Ethiopia as independent institutions, release political prisoners, invite exiled political parties, and so on. So let's just, I think on these elections, a lot of observers from domestic and from external or international observers and domestic observers already participated. Some observers release their own preliminary reports. AU and East African standby force already released preliminary reports. The report shows that the pre-election and election day process were conducted orderly, peaceful, and credible. This is the preliminary report of AU observers and Eastern Africa standby force. Maybe the others also just will release their preliminary report soon. Here, from this election, there is the clear message of Ethiopian people. There was this. The first message of this election is people of Ethiopia have shown that they are wise enough to understand that their country stands tall beyond temporary wins of parliamentary seats or lifespan of political party. The second message is the peaceful electoral process proves that the doomsday prophecies of wrong. There is some accusations from some international parties. But the election was very peaceful, very calm. This is the witness of our country. The people of Ethiopia have shown their unwavering commitment to decide in which track the country shall proceed. The other one is, the other message of this, from this election is the huge voter turnout is witness to the people of Ethiopia, Ethiopians' commitment to take matters in their own hands. The Ethiopian people have spoken that they need peace. They have just no interests for the external interference. But before summarizing my point, it's important to raise some basic fact about the election, for these elections. Here, the first point, important point is the participation of women is very high. High participation of women. It's also very, very important point. And a lot of civic society and the media participation very high. The other one is international and domestic observers were granted access to polling sessions and were allowed to conduct their duty without any interference. The last one is the water turnout is high, very high. Water is very high, very high. This is some basic points about the 6th general election of Ethiopia.